We all know that SnowRunner is packed with powerful trucks, ones that make tough jobs easier with massive tires, incredible stability, and strong engines. But not every truck is built to dominate the terrain. Some may struggle, tip over, or get stuck more often than you'd like. But that doesn't mean they aren't worth using. In fact, some of the most fun you can have in SnowRunner comes from driving trucks that aren't the best, but have enough personality to keep things interesting. Today, we're looking at 5 underappreciated trucks that might not be the most capable, but they sure are a lot of fun to drive. First up, we have the International Transtar 4070A and Ford CLT 9000. If you've ever tried to take these trucks off the paved road, you already know the pain. No all-wheel drive, no diff lock, and limited ground clearance really limits their off-road capability. The moment you hit deep mud or snow, they start to show their limits. You can't just power through obstacles like you would with a Zix 605R. You have to plan ahead, strategically make your way through tough terrain, and really think about your driving. So why use them? Because that challenge actually makes them surprisingly fun. Getting one of these to the finish line feels like an incredible accomplishment. They force you to drive differently, really learn to handle mud, and consider your route carefully. They might not be the most capable trucks, but if you're looking for a different kind of challenge, the Transtar and CLT offer exactly that. Number 4, Chevrolet CK 1500. It's easy to forget about the Chevy CK 1500. After all, it's the first truck you get in SnowRunner, and for most players, it's just a stepping stone to something better. At first, the other Scouts you unlock, like the Scout 800, feel like a straight upgrade, so it makes sense that the CK 1500 gets left behind. But here's the thing. Once you start unlocking upgrades in the later maps of Michigan, the Chevy actually becomes better again. With surprisingly large tires, bigger suspension, and a relatively powerful engine for a Scout, it turns into a surprisingly capable truck. It might not have looked like much at first, but if you give it a second chance later on, you'll see just how much it improves. Sometimes the truck you started with ends up being one of the best choices after all. The next truck I'd like to mention is the Chevy Kodiak. The Kodiak is one of those trucks you unlock early, take for a quick spin, and then never think about again. And honestly, at first, it's not hard to see why. Small tires, a mediocre engine, and not so good stability makes the truck not worth using early. So, while you're busy unlocking upgrades for your other trucks in Alaska and the later parts of Michigan, the Kodiak just fades into the background. Revisiting it after unlocking its upgrades is a completely different experience. It won't dominate rough terrain, but with some strategic route planning and smart handling of terrain, it's a surprisingly capable and enjoyable truck. It may not be the best, but it proves that some trucks just need a little patience before they show their true potential. Number 2, TUZ 108 Warthog. The TUZ 108 Warthog is one of those trucks that looks promising at first. Big balloon tires, high suspension, and a powerful engine. But once you actually start using it, the flaws become pretty obvious. Its biggest problem? The suspension and weight balance are all over the place. It feels top-heavy, bouncy, and just unpredictable in rough terrain. Compared to other off-road trucks, it never really stands out, especially when trucks like the TUZ Action or Zix 5368 do the job better. Because of that, most players write it off pretty quickly. It's just not as reliable as other options. But that doesn't mean it's useless. If you learn to work around its quirks, the Warthog can actually be pretty fun. It's not the easiest truck to control, but that challenge is exactly what makes it enjoyable for some players. It's not the best off-roader, not by a long shot, but if you like a truck with personality and don't mind a bit of chaos, the Warthog might just surprise you. Finally, we have the Freightliner M916A1, a truck that most players barely use. Not because it's the worst thing ever, but because by the time you unlock it, you've already got way better options. It's stuck behind a late-game level requirement, and when you finally get your hands on it, it doesn't exactly impress. Limited to towing saddle trailers and mediocre off-road capability makes it underwhelming to players. That said, it can still be used if you pick the right routes. Stick to solid ground, and it actually hauls cargo pretty well. It may not be a truck you rely on, but if you enjoy taking the road less traveled and making the most out of what you have, the M916A1 can still find a place in your fleet. Just maybe keep a recovery truck nearby. That's it for this list. These trucks may not be the best, but they're definitely worth a second look. Do you use any of these, or do you have another overlooked favorite? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be appreciated, and consider subscribing for more SnowRunner content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.